Thanks for letting me come into your classrooms today. I'm Jason Martin, and I'm the Executive Director of Elementary Education for Gilbert Public Schools. And Read Across America Week is one of my favorite weeks, and obviously it's looking a little different this year, but I hope you will enjoy the story that I read to you. And the story that I'm going to read to you today is called Pickles to Pittsburgh. And if you've ever read the story Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, or I bet many of you have seen the movie Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, this is the sequel to that story. And it was written and colored by Judy Barrett, and it's drawn by Ron Barrett. So a little bit different there in terms of you have a husband and wife team that worked on this story in collaboration. Pickles to Pittsburgh. Dear Henry and Kate, I'm having the best vacation ever, but I didn't get much rest. I really wish you were here. Our group travels around in a big blue bus, and somehow it manages to climb up and down the tallest and bumpiest mountains and around some of the biggest plants I've ever seen. We visited many unusual places, met the local people, and even helped them with some of their choices. I'm taking lots of pictures because this place is hard to believe. I can't wait to see you next Thursday. Love and hugs, Grandpa. I bet lots of you have received a letter maybe over the years, or maybe now an email or a text message from a loved one when they're away on vacation. We all miss Grandpa an awful lot. His Saturday morning pancakes, his mostly funny jokes, and especially his wonderful bedtime stories. Tomorrow would be Thursday, and we'd be home. He could hardly wait to hear where we had been and what he had done. To pass the time, we helped Mom make spaghetti and meatballs for dinner. Henry made the largest meatballs we've ever seen. They barely fit into the pot. Mom thanked us for helping, but asked that the meatballs be much smaller next time. After we finished eating, Henry and I cleared the table so we could help make a special welcome home cake for Grandpa. It was chocolate with strawberry icing and made in the shape of Grandpa's face. We licked as much of the batter off the spoons as we possibly could. I took Grandpa's postcard up to my room and put it on the little table beside my bed. I kept staring at it and wondering. The lamplight made bright a photograph of a wonderful place that seemed somehow familiar. I said goodnight to it, and I drifted off into sleep and started to dream. So now he's dreaming. I wonder what you dream about when you're asleep. Do you know? Surrounded by milky blue skies and with Henry as my co-pilot, we carefully steered our plane through large puffs of mist. Soon we find ourselves soaring over an island, but it's a very lumpy island. From the air it looks like a gigantic feast. Immense vegetables, salads, and desserts lie beneath us. The mountains look like huge loaves of bread. Oh my goodness. Look at that there. All of that food as they are coming in on a plane. We decide to take a closer look and prepare ourselves for a bumpy landing. Avoiding some broccoli and narrowly missing a tremendous hamburger on an oversized bun, we come down and taxi what appear to be giant strips of crisp bacon. Henry and I step down from the plane and look around in awe. Before us lies a strange but wonderful landscape. We are surrounded by larger-than-life vegetables. Nearby is a lake that smells like breakfast, bordered by leafy jungles of lettuce that resemble a tossed salad. That's so interesting, looking at bacon strips for the runway. Look at those frogs on top of bread and eggs. Makes me hungry. We try to keep our balance as we walk around the top of a gigantic bagel and past a forest of towering carrots. One is pierced by a tunnel large enough for a car to drive through it. Off in the distance, we see popcorn snowing down on the peaks of enormous rolls. Way above our heads, high up in the trees that look like broccoli, chubby birds are nesting in huge shredded wheat biscuits. Look at all of that food and how big it is. My goodness. I bet the birds are chubby because they eat too much of the food. Ahead of us, at the end of a long road, lies what looks like an abandoned town. Eager to know where we are, we start walking toward it. Sweet-smelling rain begins to fall. It collects in hundreds of open containers that are lined up in a field beside the road. Lots of orange puddles are everywhere. It's orange juice! It's raining orange juice, the kids cry out. And then all of a sudden, we find ourselves standing in the shadow of a giant tuna sandwich being delicately airlifted by helicopter. In the distance, another helicopter races off with a jumbo pickle in tow. So now it's raining orange juice, and they're moving sandwiches and other food like pickles around. When we reach what is left of the town, we see the remnants of a sign welcoming us to a place called Chew and Swallow. Somehow, I know I've heard that name before. Think back to Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. And we walk through the entire town in amazement. Up ahead, lots of workers wearing helmets and dressed in matching uniforms are loading huge potatoes onto a truck. Other trucks sag under the weight of immense artichokes, enormous eggplants, and massive peas and carrots. Foot-long veal cutlets are stacked up to be packed for shipping. So look at all that food they are moving around. To the east, the weather is changing and we can see sandwiches raining down. As soon as they land, they are piled up neatly, ready for shipment on a freighter anchored down by the shore. Large reservoirs of milk and cream flow into extra-large containers which are lined up ready to be loaded onto a ship. Printed on the sides of the trucks are the words, Falling Food Company, large food for large and small countries, for free. In case you don't know what a reservoir is, it's like a big lake with a dam on it. We have some around here in Arizona, but ours, of course, have water, and these have melting ice cream and other yummy desserts. One of the workers tells us that Chew and Swallow, the town, used to be a very ordinary little town, except that instead of weather, food rained down from the sky for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Back then, he says, by some quirk of nature, the food kept growing larger and larger and larger. Storms of gigantic food threatened normal life, so the people took their belongings and sailed away to a new land on rafts made of huge slices of stale bread. So the food got so large, they had to move away. And look at how they use the stale bread and the cheese and other things as a sailboat. They returned years later to see what happened to the town of Chew and Swallow. They discovered an endless food supply and decided to create the Falling Food Company. Now, daily shipments of food are made to all parts of the world, from the smallest towns to the largest cities. As soon as the food lands, it is wrapped, boxed, bottled, or packaged and sent out to people across the world who need it. That's awesome. So they're taking a resource that they have extra of and giving it to people that might need it. Even with poverty and drought throughout the world, there is always enough food for everyone. Henry and I think this is a great idea. We wish we could stay and work, but I don't think they hire kids. It's getting late and we hate to leave, but we really have to be headed home. Mom's expecting us for dinner. The workers give us a 2-foot wide chocolate chip cookie, which we carry back to the plane. It just barely fits through the door. That's a big cookie to load up into a plane. So we buckle up, I rev up the engine, and we start rolling down the runway. As everyone waves goodbye, we can see dinner approaching from the west. Spaghetti and meatballs, I think. As we gain altitude, the town of Chew and Swallow slowly vanishes off into the distance. My alarm clock wakes me up with a jolt. It was finally Thursday morning, and I have to get to school fast. The sooner I get there, the sooner I'd get home, and the sooner I would see Grandpa. When we get home, we run as fast as we can into Grandpa's waiting arms. I brought back something for you, said Grandpa, and he gave us each a very large box containing a chocolate chip cookie he had gotten on his trip. They were the biggest we had ever seen, almost 2 feet wide. Mom made Grandpa's favorite dinner, chicken and dumplings, and we surprised him with our special welcome home cake. He chose the slice with the mustache. By the time dinner was done, it was late, and Grandpa was tired. When he was all tucked in bed, we knocked on his door to give him an extra goodnight kiss. Then I told Grandpa the most wonderful tall-tale bedtime story he'd ever heard. It began, surrounded by milky blue skies and with Henry as my co-pilot, ... Grandpa stayed awake till the very end. Then he looked at us with a very funny glint in his eye and a smirk and said, "Wait till I show you pictures I took on my trip." And then he drifted off into his own wonderful dreams. I wonder where Grandpa went for his vacation. As a class, you guys can discuss that. And that, my friends, is the end of Pickles to Pittsburgh. I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you, teachers and students, for having a great Read Across America week. I wish you all the best, and thank you for letting me come into your classroom virtually this year.